Hello, my name is Caroline Rhéaume. I'm a tax lawyer and I specialize in trust and cross-border estate planning. Today I will be speaking with Sophie Lalonde about the importance of having a financial plan. Sophie is a financial planner and cross-border specialist. So hello, Sophie.
Hi.
So I guess really, the first question I need to ask is, why do individuals need a financial plan?
Well, quite honestly, not having a financial plan is a little bit like getting into your car, start driving and having no destination. Or a little bit like starting your business and having no business strategy in place. I mean, you might get there, but the more likelihood than not is you're going to end up with some kind of disappointment. Now, add anybody that's got a cross-border issue or dual citizenship, and you're almost guaranteed to have a major unpleasant surprise. So there's a couple of reasons why you would have one. One is also if ever you're going through a divorce or litigation, having a well-written, concise financial plan can actually back up your claim and help you win your claim. And one of the most important things, last but not least, is that it keeps you focused in times of emotional distress. It's been studied, I believe it's the American Society of Training and Development that made a study and find out that if you actually have a plan, you have a 65% more likelihood of success. And if you're actually accounted for it, like you actually have somebody that's following it, and you have to actually say, I'm going to do this, and you're actually going to, the other person is telling you, really? You actually increase your odds to 95%. So my question is more, why wouldn't you have a plan?
Wow, yeah, and like you're saying, well, we meet with many clients who have connections to the U.S. and have assets in the U.S. So yeah, so it gets more complex. Yeah, that's a good point. But if someone is about to prepare a financial plan for me, well, what can I expect? What type of information will I find in the document?
Well, a financial plan first is a collaborative effort. So collaborative means that the client also has to work as much as we do as a professional. So it's a two-way street, right? It's not a one-way street. It's a 6-step process. We kind of summarize this in 3 just to make it easier. It's less, overwhelming when you say 3. So basically what you're looking at is the discovery. The discovery is basically, I'm looking at your financial situation. I'm looking at where you are today. I'm looking at your budget and where you want to go. So that's the first part. And then we have the second part, which is the design, which is the actual financial plan. It's the roadmap, how you're actually going to go from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. And then you have the deploy, which is basically the action, the plan to action, right? How I'm actually going to execute the following. Financial plan covers 7 areas. So like I mentioned, the first one is basically your financial situation. And yes, we do ask you to do your budget, and people just love it when I say that. But the reason is there's 2 things you're looking for, right? One is first, are you living within your means? Are you spending more than you're actually making? So to make sure that you don't, it's kind of hard to save money if you're spending more than you make. And eventually it's going to catch up to you. The other thing also is what you're looking for is more, what is your fix? Like there's 3 types of spending, right? There's your fix where you have no choice. No matter what, your medication, you got to pay it. Your mortgage, you have to pay. Your insurance. There's some expenses, there's no choice. There's others that are, they feel good. They make me happy. They're good. So they're good for my mental and emotional side. So whether I'm doing the exercise or I play soccer, like personally, I like to play soccer, it makes me in a good mood. So the exercise part or whatever, but it's good for me. Okay, so that's my second one, which usually we try to keep as much as possible. And then there's the third one, is the exuberant, right? I like to go and for high designs, and I want to travel the world, and I got to eat the restaurant 3 times a day, and so these are the excessive ones. And that's actually the ones that we're going to look at to actually build and say, okay, if you can't with your income actually cover for your planning, or most people should actually start with 10% minimum for themselves to start putting aside, and more likely than not 20% is the appropriate amount. So that's where we're going to pick from, right? And we also look at your personal assets, right? What you have and your debt. So the second one we'll look at is more your tax and legal implications. So your fiscal implication, we're looking at your debt, is it deductible? Or can I make it deductible? Like,
Yeah.
can I restructure your debt? Your assets, should I own it in the corporation? Should I own it in the trust? You know, how exactly should I own the asset or just own it outright? So we're going to look at the tax implications, legal implications. So, you know, am I credit proof or not? So that's the second and third, because, you know, I said 7 major area. And after that, we're going to look at the asset management, right? The asset management has a lot of things. You can have bonds, you can have mutual funds, you can have all types of structure, whether segregated fund, insurance products, and so forth. And what you're looking for is, you know, is it well diversified, or are you repeating, I have 6 banks, which I'm just increasing my costs, or I have 7 Canadian large cap mutual funds. Well, just buy one, it'll cost you less, you know, type of thing. So we'll look at the assets that you have to make sure that you're not paying more fees than you should. And they're actually the most maximum return for the amount of risk that you're taking. So we're looking for the optimal solution over there. And then you look at the risk management. We actually have a paper that we wrote where there's, we identified 25 risks, because I like number 25. I thought it was kind of cool that you have to look at, you know. And people often skip that part. But, you know, anything going from what happens if you're in a car accident. So you can either assume the risk or you can manage it. You know, do you want to take disability insurance? What about longevity? What if you live to 125, which could be the case, by the way, eh? So if you live to 125, then, you know, do you have enough money to make it to there, or do you have any annuity or any kind of, you know, pension that can actually cover that longevity problem? What about inflation? So there's a whole bunch of them, right? So we're going to go through each of the risk and look if, you know, and you have a choice. You can assume it, like I said, or you can manage it. So that's one of the areas you can look at. And then obviously by itself, there's the retirement planning, because the retirement planning, everybody at one point is going to retire. So what you're looking at is, now that I'm not producing any more income out of my work, you know, is my asset capable of actually paying for my needs? And when you look at that, there's actually, again, like I said, there's 3 types of spending, right? There's your fix. Your fix, you really want to be covered with some kind of pension income, whether it's annuity, whether it's your pension, whether it's your bond. But that part, no matter what happens to the market, no matter what happens as far as COVID-19 or God knows what, that part's covered, no matter what. The second one, which I said that more likely than not can be covered with something that is medium risk, you know, like your Canadian large cap dividends or your American large cap dividends that, you know, are pretty stable, but, you know, not as guaranteed for the fix. And then you have, obviously, I like to travel, I want my yacht, I want to go to the high-end restaurants and all that. So that obviously will be with your growth stocks. So that's what you're looking at when you look at a retirement plan, is how exactly is it coming in, and obviously the most tax efficient way that you can do it, right? And last but not least, you have your famous estate planning, which is your legacy. What do you want to leave behind? Do you want to build a foundation? Do you want to leave it to your kids? And what's the best way of doing it, as you know, so we can actually reduce the tax implication and also make sure that the kids are well protected, or that it really goes to where you want it to be.
So, but you were talking about COVID-19. Do you think it would, if I don't have a financial plan, do you think it's a good time to have one? Or if I have one, you know, would you say that, you know, we have to revise the plan once in a while, or, you know, once we have it, that's kind of it?
No, and that's exactly it. Once you have a plan, please don't take it and put it down the drawer, because things happen, right? So whenever an event happens, and COVID-19 would be one, or even like you're getting married, you're getting divorced, your kids is having a child, or you know, there's all kinds of things that happen in your life. You lost your job, you got a new job, you're retiring, you're moving. All these require you to review the plan automatically. If nothing's happening, you should actually review it still at least once a year, just to make sure that you're still on track, and are you really following the plan as required.
Okay. And I guess now we're talking about, you know, the financial plan and, you know, all the recommendations that will be inside and everything. But also there, you know, if someone is kind of asking, well, people are watching or listening and they're just wondering, well, how do I choose a financial planner? Because, you know, there are many people who are saying that they are financial planners, but, you know, how do I choose?
Well, actually, the first thing, and you're right, there's a lot of people consider, the titles are a little confusing, right? I'm a financial advisor, I'm a financial security advisor, I'm an investment advisor, I'm a financial plan. Well, there's so many titles. So first of all, financial planners have certain accreditations. So make sure that, understand the letters that's behind the name. You know, what do they stand for? It doesn't mean that person is not educated or whatever, but financial plan has specific accreditation, whether a CFP or an IQPF for Quebec. So there are licenses required to be named a financial planner. The other thing also that you might want to consider, which is a little bit more tricky, is keep in mind that there might be some conflict of interest, you know, especially if as professionals, we get paid. And I can get paid in all kinds of ways. You might not see it, but trust me, I'm highly educated, I get paid. So if I'm not charging you for the plan, it's because I'm getting paid with the products that I'm gonna manage to sell you, right? Okay. So obviously if you're dealing with somebody in insurance, more likely than not, then you have an insurance bias. If you're dealing with somebody that's an investment broker, more likely than not, you will have more portfolio bias, right? So make sure that you actually know the conflict of interest. And if you want none at all, then I suggest you pay for it. Just have an independent financial plan that has nothing to do with any products. And then you'll make sure that the structure is really based upon you. So that's one way of looking at it. And realize also that every product exists for a reason, right? So you want to deal with someone who understands all the different products, or at least is surrounded with the right professionals to make sure that they're actually guiding you the right way. Mm-hmm. And I'd say the most important, last but not least, I'd say the most important is actually somebody that you can trust, that you can talk to. This is going to sound weird, but remember last time you talked about the trust, and we were talking about different type of trust. And one of the things you mentioned is if your child is a gambler or has a drug issues, we need to know. So you have to be comfortable to tell your professional, well, by the way, you know, I have a certain illness and my kid has a gambling problems, or because we need to protect that. That's important in the plan. So you need to feel comfortable. So first you can ask the questions, not just go, yeah, and I have absolutely no clue what's happening, because that's a useless plan. If you have no clue what's going on, might as well not have one. So it's really important that you actually are comfortable discussing with your planner and ask questions.
Yeah, great. So, okay, so thank you very much, Sophie, for all this information. And like I was saying, you know, at the beginning, you are a financial planner. So if people who are watching would like to get more information about it, would like to discuss that with you, well, you're available. So you can contact Sophie Lalonde, and she can help you with all the questions you may have about financial plans. So thank you very much.
Including the 25 risk.
Sorry?
Including the list of the 25 risks you should address. Thank you very much, Caroline. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.